What would you do if the woman you swore to cherish, the one who promised forever, shattered your world with a single, careless text message? The glowing screen of my phone at 2 a.m., illuminating her betrayal, felt like a physical blow. It wasn't just a message. It was a photograph, a hotel room keycard, and a name I recognized. My wife, Sarah, in a moment of reckless abandon, had sent proof of her infidelity not to her lover, but to me. My heart didn't just break. It imploded, leaving behind a cold, hollow space where love once resided. Stared at the image, the sterile white sheets of a hotel bed, the corner of a man's arm, and the unmistakable glint of Sarah's wedding ring on a hand that wasn't mine. The air in our bedroom, usually filled with the quiet rhythm of our shared sleep, suddenly felt suffocating, thick with deceit. I knew in that instant that my life, as I understood it, was over, and a new, darker chapter had just begun. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The days that followed were a blur of forced smiles and internal screams. Oblivious to my discovery, continued her charade. Her phone, once an extension of her hand, became a secret keeper, always face down, always muted. Late nights at work, vague excuses, and a sudden, inexplicable interest in her appearance. All the classic signs I'd once dismissed as paranoia now screamed betrayal. She grew cold, distant, her touch feeling like a stranger's. Our home, a sanctuary for years, transformed into a stage for her elaborate performance. I watched her, a silent observer, as she perfected her lies, her arrogance growing with each successful deception. She truly believed she was untouchable. The humiliation was a constant burning ember in my gut. I, Mark, the devoted husband, the provider, the fool, the man she had vowed to love and honor, now reduced to a pawn in her sordid game. I started noticing the small things. A receipt for a lavish dinner at the Gilded Spoon in downtown Chicago, a place we could never afford, tucked into her purse. Hushed phone calls ending abruptly when I entered the room. The faint scent of a cologne that wasn't mine clinging to her clothes. Each discovery was a fresh stab, but it also fueled a growing resolve. My emotional breakdown was silent, internal. I cried in the shower, screamed into my pillow. But in her presence, I was a rock, a mask of calm, carefully constructed to hide the storm raging within. I began to gather proof, meticulously, patiently. I installed discreet cameras in the house, not to catch her in the act, but to document her comings and goings, her secretive phone calls. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Frank, who worked out of a dingy office on a side street in Dallas. Frank's reports were clinical, detached, yet each one felt like a punch to the gut. Photos of Sarah entering and leaving the Grand Hyatt on North Michigan Avenue with a man I now knew as David Thorne, a smug mid-level executive from her company. Text messages, forwarded by Frank, detailing their illicit rendezvous, their plans, their shared contempt for me. The legal traps were laid with the precision of a master chess player. I consulted with a divorce attorney, a sharp, nonsense woman named Ms. Albright, who specialized in high-asset divorces and had a reputation for ruthlessness. She advised me on every step, every document, every piece of evidence I needed to secure my future and dismantle Sarah's. The social traps were more subtle, more insidious. I started dropping hints to mutual friends, carefully chosen words about Sarah's stress at work, her unusual hours. I let them see my concern, my worry. I wanted the whispers to start, the seeds of doubt to be planted, so that when the truth finally exploded, it wouldn't be a shock, but a confirmation of what they had already suspected. David Thorne, her affair partner, was a married man with a prominent position. His reputation, his career, his family, all vulnerable. I gathered information on him, too. His company's ethics policies, his wife's social circle. The public exposure happened on a Tuesday, exactly 3 months after I found that text. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation, no shouting, no tears. It was a meticulously orchestrated legal filing delivered to Sarah at her office, simultaneously with a carefully crafted anonymous email sent to David Thorne's company HR department and his wife. The divorce papers detailed every infidelity, every hotel stay, every text message, backed by irrefutable evidence. The email to Thorne's company included the same evidence, highlighting his breach of conduct and moral turpitude. The email to his wife was even more direct, a simple link to a cloud folder containing all the damning photos and messages. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Sarah was served at her desk, the papers a public declaration of her deceit. The whispers in her office turned into outright stares, then into a cold, professional distance. David Thorne was suspended, then fired, his marriage crumbling under the weight of his exposed lies. Sarah's carefully constructed world imploded. Her friends, once so eager to believe her excuses, now saw the truth. Her family, once so proud, now looked at her with a mixture of pity and disgust. The legal battle was swift and brutal. Ms. Albright ensured that Sarah received nothing but what was legally mandated, her infidelity severely impacting the settlement. She lost her job, her social standing, and the comfortable life she had taken for granted. I saw her once, months later, in a grocery store in a different part of the city. She looked gaunt, her eyes hollow, her once vibrant arrogance replaced by a defeated weariness. She saw me, and for a fleeting moment, a flicker of the old Sarah, the one who thought she could manipulate anyone, crossed her face. She opened her mouth, perhaps to apologize, perhaps to plead for forgiveness. But I simply turned my cart and walked away, leaving her standing alone in the aisle, a ghost of the woman I once loved. The silence in my apartment now is profound, a quiet, haunting echo of what once was. The end.